What's up, everybody? It's Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions and Studio One Tutorials.com, and today we're making trap great again because we flip victory. What's up, everybody? It's Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions, Studio One Tutorials.com. I was working on this. Yeah, man, so that's where the track started to get a little bit crazy, but yeah, I put that together just because I did the Hail Mary and working with the Future MIDI drum loops, and I just caught a vibe, and I was like, yo, let me see what other you know, like hard ass 90s songs I could flip and mess with, because I have an artist that I'm working with right now that you know, that appreciated that vibe. So I was like, yo, let me see if I could do something else and see if we could do something with this vibe. So yeah, I found the original the sample, just went on Who Sampled, and what I did is I chopped it in Maschine because the time, or not Maschine, I chopped it in Studio One because the time stretching and just being able to set anchor points and be able to really go in and fine tune the time stretching was important. That's something that Maschine just don't have yet, and supposedly they're working on it for the 3.0 update, but you know, while I have Studio One, like this is how I use them together right now, you know, and it's really not that meticulous at all, because I'll just go and after I chop up a sample, just go and drag it to this folder that I have that's browsable in Maschine called S1 bounces, and then boom, I got all my samples right here. So by the time, you know, I loaded it up in Maschine, you know, I have a favorites folder already, and then all I got to do is drag the waves onto this group, you know, put it across the pads, and then boom. So, you know, the samples are, you know, it's this guy right here. So then you got this guy. Gotta have this dude. And then we got this guy right here. And what that was is when I got into kind of programming the arrangement, which I'm going to go through in a second, is I wanted it to be like an updated version of Victory. I didn't want to just lay out the sample, and play strings underneath it exactly like Puffy and the Hitman did, just because, so many people have redone that beat and everything. So, I wanted to make it significantly cooler. So what other way to kind of throw this into, into the new vibe than by throwing some gross speed on it. And I put the 1.5 repeat over this sample right here. This so it's that sample, and then with the 1.5 repeat, you get this. Which is just like stupid hard, but when I use gross beat inside inside Maschine, which if you have like a legit copy of Fruity Loops and you actually own the gross beat plugin, you can just go to imageline.com and download the VST version and use it in whatever DAW you want. So you could use it anything to host VSTs. So yeah, so if you don't have the legit version, you can't do that. So don't hit me up asking how to get it in here. But I went ahead and just sampled it, sampling it internally. I don't know. I don't know. This is a really powerful function inside Maschine, and it's one of my favorite functions because I really like to deal with audio more than I do than a MIDI with a whole bunch of plugins on it, because you get the audio printed out and you stop messing with it. Like that whole concept of, oh, maybe I might want to go back and change it, is like that shit is I feel like it's counterproductive, because for me, like if I want to produce in volume at high quality, I want to make decisions, be comfortable with my decisions, live with my decisions, and move to the next thing, instead of going back and going crazy. But all you got to do is go to the record tab and switch your source to internal, and then you want to solo whatever pad is or whatever pad is being triggered by gross beat or whatever effect, or it could even be a group of sounds, and then just sample it. This is another way to get around CPU too. Just sample all your stuff to audio, turn the VSTs off, and you'll be back at at just barely any CPU running, because Maschine is extremely efficient at just triggering the samples. It takes like no CPU. So that's how I got the basic layout of the samples. The kicks and snares, these are like this deal right here I programmed myself, just to get the type of vibe of the track. The kicks were, or the 808 pattern came directly from Future MIDI Drums, which is on studio1tutorials.com under the buy sounds tab. It's $9.99. I got it in the description if you guys are interested. And for the 808, before these hits right here on the song that I referenced and made, they were they were hitting up at the fifth of the scale, and the way that sounded, it didn't flow with what I had. So all I did was I just dropped them down. And again, this is the power of having a MIDI pack, because you can tailor all this stuff to the song. If you go and listen to Future's self-titled album, there's nothing on here that sounds like a 90s hip-hop song. So it's just again, just showcasing how powerful this pack can be with once you apply your own creativity and your own inspiration to it. You don't have to, it's not like you're out here biting Metro and them by doing this. So basically, the overall arrangement of the track, I approached it, at first I was approaching it like the original Puffy song, with the with the two long verses and kind of ascending string patterns, and that's, you can kind of see that here with how I laid out my strings from pattern to pattern. Like I have this climbing melody going up, and then I stack an octave with it in the next scene, and then that kind of carries on, and then I have this next type of melody in the bridge, and then I kind of bring it up, stack it with 3 octaves to get that epicness, and then here I'm just kind of spamming it on the and beats. I'm sorry, on the back beats of the bar. Bom, bom, bom. And then when we get here, we come back to bring that continuity, and that was kind of, it was kind of important to get these string sections with the sample, because, and I'm going to do a mixing tutorial on studio1tutorials.com. This is going to be one of the mixing made simple tutorials, because if you go back earlier in the video and you actually listen to the beat, this original sample, it's an orchestral sample, so there's a lot of panning of the original instruments, and I had to make a lot of decisions with sounds based on how the sample was panned. You know, I'm filling different spaces, so that's why when you look at this sound right here, I've got it I don't have it here, but I intended to have it panned over to the left a little bit, because during the scene, like you can hear the staccato strings on the left side, that but then on the right side it's a quiet part of the sample, because in the original arrangement of the song they were leaving room, but because I chopped it and have it doing my own thing, it's now my responsibility to, you know, complete that part of the composition. And I think what I'm getting at is, when you're sampling something that's one of these old 70s records that's really well panned, and they take a lot of pride in the stereo separation of the mix, in order to make it sound more modern and kind of fill out the frequency spectrum, you need to take that into consideration when you're composing your parts. Like a lot of people, like if I was a little bit more inexperienced with composition, the way that I might have approached this in the past is I would put it in Studio One, I would take the dual pan, or put it in Pro Tools, take the dual pan it to the center, and essentially make this a mono signal, so that it was so that you got that staccato string in both ears. But when you go through this entire track and you get into these different scenes where the horns start to come in, the balance of the higher horn and the lower and the French horn going off of each other really adds to the beauty of the song. So if you start, if you just you know, cancel that out by throwing this into mono, yeah, you'll get the volume and you'll get, you know, the dual signal on both sides, but you miss out on the panning dynamics, which is gonna like make the difference between like a pro sounding beat and, you know, my first Slice X chop, you know. So you see how in that section the that horn part kind of creeps up in your in if you have headphones on, but it creeps up in your left ear. Meanwhile, you've got this thicker string section happening in your right. So it gives a really nice range of space to your stereo separation, and that's how like whenever I meet like a new producer who comes to the studio, and usually it's through like somebody else that they know, and they're all like, yo, you gotta meet this dude and he's nice at mixing or whatever, they always come and they want to know two things. They either want to know how to make the drums really loud, they're like, how do I get it wide? And they start talking to me about stereo expanders and things like that. And it's really more so in the panning. You got to pay attention to the panning at the composition stage of the game, because that's how you create your picture. So back to the arrangement. The way that I arranged this was, I'm obviously, because I'm an old head, and I got the sample, and I'm excited, and I'm listening to this, and I'm just like, sun don't shine forever, but as long as you're here, then we might as well shine together. So I kind of built the intro with that in mind, and this is kind of like how it's like a version of how like a hybrid trap producer would do it. Like they would have that intro before the drop, and then this section right here is functioning as my drop. If you're familiar with like Illmind's boom trap stuff, I kind of took a cue from that, where you start and you just have a 808 bass pattern in the beginning. And then you move and bring in the snare. Now this snare pattern, this is the only time that this snare pattern plays, is during this scene, because in the absence of kicks to move the rhythm, without this repeating like really dodgy snare section, it just got really slow and plain. So I wanted to make sure that was not an issue. Then here we're bringing in hi-hats to bring the energy. We take some of those excess snares out to give this a more natural vibe to go, and then it's just playing off the kicks. This snare pattern is not included in the future MIDI drum loops. This is something that I augmented. So this is how you can take this MIDI information and make it your own. So we bring in the hi-hat, but the hi-hat is not the hi-hat from the pack either. This is something that's a little bit more mellow. It doesn't have all of the 16th note rolls and the pitch shifting and stuff like that, because the focus of these four scenes is to bring like an energy that's stepping up into a dramatic climax, just like the music, the original music does, just like the version of Victory does. So that's what we're trying to recreate, but we're doing it our own way. Then here we take the drums out. I put in a white noise fall, and then I put in a white noise riser. So that way when you get here, you kind of understand the energy's going down. The strings here are ascending, so that you feel yourself start to climb up, in energy. And then when you stack that with the riser, and add in this 808 and this kick pattern in as well, by the time you get here where we change to the gross beat glitched out melody, and the vocal chants, which were a really big part of this track, because rather than do like an 808 cymbal crash or some type of just the basic ass cymbal crash, just to let you know, hey, you're in a new part of the song, I wanted to use vocal chants, because it's just more my vibe. I felt like it made it like more trippy. So then here's where these two scenes is where we have our gross beat melody. Then we go back into the original sample, and again, this is another situation where a lot of the sample information for this section is panned on the right side. Like you got these horns going on. If you listen to it, let's see, without the sample here, if you listen to the original sample, So you've got kind of like the low French horn thing on the right, and then up here you got like a trumpet type of vibe or whatever that horn is. I'm not the best at picking out brass, but you get the point. The what I wanted to do was to make this like extra modern. Is I added these samples here, and then this guy. You know, I didn't want this to be like a full-blown like hybrid trap vibe because I want somebody to rap on it. You know, I don't want it to seem like one of those beats that you don't need a rapper on, because you know, when you put too much sample vocals and you know, like just epic turn up shit, a rapper won't hear the space for themselves on it. So the thinking was this: when you listen to this section and you hear that high horn, what I wanted to do was pan this to the left so that it kind of plays with that higher horn part, and then this guy down here, pan it to the right because it's a lower sample, so you have the higher sample and then the lower sample. So the lower sample will side with the low horn. The higher sample will side with the high horn. And when you go from section to, or when you go from scene to scene, you'll get that bounce in energy from the left to right, effectively creating width. Now this section here, this goes back to the whole, you know, kind of taking a cue from like hybrid trap, and dubstep, and EDM, where after your first, you know, after this section right here, you want to go back to this, you know, to this initial build up section, but you don't want it to be, or I didn't want it to be, you can do whatever you want, but I didn't want it to be you know, an exact copy of this, because I felt like I had it running, it just felt super sleepy, you know, like I feel like the type of person that I'm trying to sell this track to, you know, once they see the name of it, you know, once they hear the 808s, once they hear how, you know, this section was just flipped, like if I get somebody up to this point, I'm gonna have their attention. They're gonna be excited about this. They're gonna be already coming up with punchlines. So I wanted to make sure when we got here, I didn't put them to sleep. I wanted to make sure to continue to create that interest, and that's what making an arrangement is all about. See, arranging songs is about keeping the listener interested by giving their ears puzzles to solve. So, you know, whether it's like switching up instruments, taking stuff out, you don't want to give them the same loop over and over again, because the way that boredom works and the way that our attention spans shut off is when listening to a piece of music, if a human hears a part and the puzzle no longer needs solving. So if they know by the end of this scene that this scene is coming back because they heard it over here, that's when they're going to start to check out. And that's when they're going to turn around and start talking to their friend about like, yo, should we get KFC, or, you know, should we go to Popeyes? And that's when you lose them. So I'm cognizant of that. I know that that's how the mind works. So I made sure, like, this is a special beat for me. I want other people to treat it special. I'm gonna spice this up. And what I did was, I made this section right here. what that is that is a heavy that is a heavy filter effect that I got from Shaperbox. Again, the growth speed killer, because you can just do so much more shit with it. And shout out to the boys at Cable Guys for putting in the crossfade function in here, so it doesn't sound super poppy and glitched out. But this is a preset that I love, and I augmented slightly. I'll flip this around to make it work for my needs. But putting this filter on this original sample part, yielded that result. And then again, I just sampled it into Maschine. That way it was, it's locked in audio. I have it. I don't have to worry about it taking up processing power. That's what I mean. Like, when I see people talk about plugins, they're like, it takes up too much CPU. It's just like, well, then bounce that shit, ho. Like, you act like we don't have computers to solve problems. So one cool thing about this sample that I want to show you guys is, during the sample, there was a couple instances where the filter, because filters, when you make really drastic changes from dropping the filter all the way out to 0 hertz, to say going back to changing the filter cutoff to like 20K, you can get a pretty obnoxious artifact. And what I did was, I can't even find it anymore. Oh, it's right here. So like, previous to me doing this, like right where you see this right here, there was like this big pop that went all the way up. And all I did was I went to edit and say, like, it looked like this. So for example, I'll just do it on this one so you guys can see. If you have an artifact or something that you just don't like the way it sounds, all right. So say I just didn't like the way that sounded. I like it for this track because I think it adds a nice amount of animation and it sounds spacey. But say I didn't like the way it sounded, say I thought that was corny, I could just zoom in, right? Go to where you at, silence, and just take out my start and end points. Find that little piece of shit, like this guy right here. Boom. I don't like you. Okay. Swing my endpoint over. And I'm just working the knobs on the controller right now. Alright, so I don't like this guy. And then just go ahead and put silence, and it'll take that out. And because it's such a small section, like this is what guys do to get rid of clicks and pops in like a vinyl or something. It's a cool trick. So once you go ahead and put that on, see, you had it right here, and now it's gone. You can't even tell. Then you add that with the drums. See, so it's really easy. It's really easy to get rid of stuff like that, just as long as you know your tools, and you think in terms of problem solving and not just getting a fucking plugin to do all the cool stuff for you. So once I got into this section, and then we flipped this up, we could repeat our bridge, and then our get our little drop section going, and then close it out with the little. Yes, that's pretty much the beat and the whole idea and the vibe around the arrangement. How to program the strings and stuff. I just played in the scale. It was nothing real crazy. The parts that I wanted it to feel like it was going up, I just walked up the scale. So I'm not gonna waste time showing all that. But for you guys who are subscribed to Studio1tutorials.com, I'm definitely gonna do a mix through on this beat right here, because just because the panning is so intense, and I'm gonna get into some pan automation, and just making room for all these sounds, because I feel like it's a really important skill to have, to be able to compose around pans in an existing song, especially if you sample a lot of 70s stuff. And yeah, man. So this is Concrete Zebra with Craftmaster Productions, Studio1tutorials.com. Don't forget to pick up future MIDI drum loops and turn whatever you want into a classic new banger. Keep it simple, don't be basic, and we'll see you on the next one.